because when I speak it, it just breaks my heart that the first food we offered her had like a good bunch of neurotoxins, which immediately after feeding her, I just got reminded because the dust settled, it got calm. I flipped the bottle, looked at the ingredients. It had food colorings, it had sodium benzoate, it had food coloring by the name of red 40 or something like that. Believe it or not, jaggery powder had red, yellow, and one more color, which they added to bring it more orangish or brownish color. And despite being in this business is a strong word, but despite being in this profession for so long now, like 3 years-ish, I start with a very humble note that it is everywhere. To be aware of what to make healthy choices for your family is the most important thing we all want to do. But yeah, I fed my child the first Annaparashan food as a neurotoxin. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but now I'm super alert. Was there before too. With this sad and satirical and ironical note, I don't know whether it still leaves me an expert in the field to present, but I think a little humility goes a long way to make amends. And then
this was a store-bought, right? This is a store-bought, but jaggery powder. So
yeah,
harmless jaggery powder that you would.
and I know I'm not making a choice of sugar. I'm making jaggery powder, which is supposed to be healthy, but yeah. Okay, with that, let's get started. And today we'll dive deep into lots of foods for brain. I got a full tray here, which I don't really use, of brain foods, what to eat, what not to eat, etc. By no means I am in general a prescriptive coach. So you are free to choose what you choose. Here to just share information with you. Okay.
So I was going to say it's good time to introduce ourselves because we are telecasting it on our group. So
Okay. Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Sakshi, and I am a board certified health coach. I specialize in behavioral change. How do you make sure that clients' autonomy is in place and still they can make behavior change using tools like information, which is most important for behavior change. How do you raise competence of people or belief in themselves to bring out the behavior change that desire for themselves? How do you leverage relatedness or a community to bring behavior change um, and autonomy? As I said, how do you leverage this sense of freedom or protect it without giving any diet plan and still, or exercise plan or attitude plan, no plan? Still, how do you influence behavior change? That's what I specialize in. And I mostly work with people who are in tech. Uh, but that's what I work on. More recently started working with men and women both. I think I've finally overcome this victimhood of women have all the problems. So yeah, now I work with both
And
men.
you were yourself in tech, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's past life, right? She with the completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. I'm a PhD in electrical engineering. I worked for TI, worked for Apple, as a hardware engineer, tech lead, and then had my first child, and health meant nothing. I think no exercise, no nutrition meant burger and fries for lunch, and sleep out, nothing. So as a result, burnt out, had several autoimmune disorders, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, mental health, everything. They all come together. But yeah, I rebuilt my health like an engineer would do. So spreadsheets with all the, like, what am I missing? Yeah, what am I doing wrong? And then building it one step at a time. And then it became a passion. And then yeah, went on to get a certification for the certification, etc. Yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah, I got very interested in this topic that I have tried several weight loss techniques and keto diet, I have done CrossFit, I have run marathon, I have eaten vegan, I have eaten gluten free, I have come back. All this, it was never the lack of
Information.
information,
Yeah.
right? But the behavior change is the most challenging part. Even if I do get successful, then it reverts back.
Yeah.
I have tried atomic habits and like identity crisis. What, how to? Well, it's so. This is the hardest part. It's not the lack of information, lack of nutrition. It's more behavior change. So I got very interested in your work and could relate more because I'm also in tech and have a lot of interests and passions. So
Yeah.
how to be most effective in the pursuits we do. That's in a minimalist way, even if possible, right?
Yeah, well, I must say your group is one of the important part to bring behavior change, because when you have community together and when you see people eating healthy, it's a great initiative there, Srividya. I mean, being in your group also was a privilege in the beginning when I was making changes. Which how do you cook with millets? So many recipes were there in your blog group, and bringing so many people together and still conducting it with grace. It's so powerful. Thank you.
I learned from everyone just like you. So it's amazing experience for me. And we resonate on that topic, right? Like this is not a health habit. How do we make these yes, the idea is ubiquitous, but make it easy, help. And there are thank you for all the members who also open-mindedly contribute, right? So this is amazing. I would jump into your body of work here, right? And what is a very common problem that people who are very busy, working families, um, what is that they come to you or complain about, and how do they get over? I would love to know a little bit of your experience.
Yeah, I think uh, there are quite a few things. One which surprised me in the beginning by the prevalence of it is the amount of self-doubt. They don't realize that there's self-doubt, especially in the tech industry where things are changing so soon. So you start feeling obsolete very, very soon. And as a result, you keep overcompensating. Also, there is very little support, especially in this part of the world, as far as the society is concerned. You don't have, you're far from the family, so you have kids, you have work, and then you're spread too thin, very little help. So no time for yourself. That was the most important thing that I have at least seen. And then the second one is self-doubt. The third one, which I didn't even conduct it during the first program, which was communication. Nowadays when people ask me, as I responded to you also, it's such an important thing here. We are not trained to listen to our needs. We're not trained to see that, hey, it's my limit, I cannot stay awake anymore, I need to prioritize myself, I need to sleep better. Hi Rashmi.
Hi.
Welcome. This is being recorded, so I think you can watch it, but I would just give you a 30 seconds overview of where we are, if Shividya permits.
Yeah, of course. Yes, the floor is yours.
I just got started, Rashmi, and then we discussed about myself. I have my tech background and I am now the health coach. This thing, of course, went through some personal health issues, autoimmune, mental health, yeah, lupus, lots of things. But now everything is under remission, all good. And now I'm a passionate health coach. And today's topic is brain health. The question Shividya was asking is, what do people come to you the most with? And the answer that I was sharing is there's very little societal support as far as taking care of kids, work, etc. So it's spread too thin mostly. If you're in tech, then changing work very soon makes you feel that I am not enough. That's another one. Third is culturally, we are not very trained to listen to our needs. The communication with self is weak, communication with others is weak. As a result, we don't see that that's the underlying reason of we not listening to our needs. If I listen to my needs, I might not overcompensate. I might prioritize my sleep without getting into conflict. So how do you manage or navigate communication? To me, I didn't think, but has become the biggest and the most difficult part of my programs. But yes, decluttering information. There is so much information today that, oh, I want to do keto, I want to do keto, sticking with keto, and then not keto, and then keto. Side effects of keto, intermittent fasting, not it's clutter. Clearing the clutter has become the biggest part of my job, and still not sound prescriptive. That's the
I
challenge.
know I'm smiling because getting our daily exercise, meditation, or eating right is a stress by itself. Like, and there is so much of it, and which one to follow, and what is optimal for me. And so even the self-care to do that could become a stress,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So
So
it's
very,
around mind work, right? So it's about not about the prescriptive diets. It's not about the prescriptive uh new fad, but it's more on the lifestyle change and starting from the mind, right?
yeah. Appreciating that both physiology and psychology work in tandem. It's the psychology and physiology that have to come together for you to feel well. It's not just the body, not just the mind, and communication. So I think I'm not sure if there's anything else that you all have learned because it's all personal. But yeah.
What has been a success story, Sakshi? I mean, your clients, what best practices of success have you seen in your experience?
Yeah, I think I would say that to me, their outlook towards exercise or meditation or food, if changes, that to me is success. And that's what I've heard from them. Um, and also small wins. We've read that affirming, like, okay, if I went for a 10-minute walk, that doesn't make me less of a person. It's actually affirming that I went for a 10-minute walk. Instead of seeing, oh my God, the entire social media is going to the gym, see that I stepped out for 10-minute walk and still being okay with it, still affirming it is something that I have received feedback from my clients, but also have seen their journey and seen them doing that to themselves. Instead of being, oh my God, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I'm not eating well. Oh my God, I'm not doing this. This thing that when I see this transformation to me in my head, I'm like, okay, my job is done because now they have built a muscle of affirming themselves. Because once you affirm yourself, no one can stop you, right? I know that I took this step. Okay, so if I have to read this book, finishing the book cover to cover doesn't necessarily mean success. Ordering the book, getting the book home, reading one chapter, and seeing that success will propel me further to finish the book. Instead, if I say, oh yeah, I'm like that only, I don't never finish a book, will make you feel worse about yourself and not do even three more things. So to tell you about the success stories, I think I have, of course, received, I've not had one client report like not satisfied, which gives me happiness. But also, I think the biggest shift I've seen is people letting go of um, processed foods. When I see that happen, like desire to let go of that, um, calling um, small chunks of exercising and doing small chunks of exercise and being happy about it, that mindset shift. And then at least in the end, seeing that this is my need, that thing that, oh, I'm not sleeping on time because it's my need to be appreciated by those three people whom I'm presenting tomorrow. So that's my need. Seeing that need is something, when they start seeing the need, that gives me like super joy that, okay, yeah, we are doing kind of a okay job here.
So it's a goal. Why do I want to do that? And even small wins, celebrating the mini steps towards it, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
acknowledging, right? If not celebrating, it's just anything is better as long as you consistently do it, right?
And having the tools to manage stress. Yeah, stress is not bad. Understanding that nothing is bad. Stress is not bad. Sugar is not bad. These labels that we put are so detrimental to our growth. Stress is not bad as long as you close the stress cycle. So this power of not putting labels and unnecessarily pressurizing ourselves is the is the is something that I've seen clients do. And yeah, that is all that gives me happiness. Yeah.
Yeah. So I work in a hardware industry and we do root cause analysis, right? We often fix, let's say I'm not able to sleep. This is just a silly example, but I'm not able to sleep. I take meds and then I sleep. You're continuously in the loop of fixing the symptom, but then you go down to root cause is indeed oftentimes stress. Why does the stress come is maybe your time management could be better, the communication, or you didn't acknowledge enough. Our brain always looks at what else can we improve. And so that though the stress has its branches of why it happens, and then
Well said. Yeah, so well
fixing
said.
those. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So do you just prescribe like nutrition? So I'm thinking, right, a family, a young, busy family, how can they plan nutrition and eat well, right? Eat well could mean a little bit different from family to family, right?
Yeah, I wish I had an answer. I have an answer, but that can vary from everybody, is different.
Indeed.
Uh, but if I had to choose a few things which I have seen being low hanging fruits, is if it's a family with kids, involving the kids and thinking of them as smart individuals who can be a part of,
Right.
for example, reading labels. My son could not read, and he just knows that when you see a box, flip it around. The first step was just flip it around. Then he understood that, oh, reading ingredients. Then he can read sugar, sugar, sugar everywhere, or a couple of ingredients that like HFCS have trained him. So first thing I would do is get your pantry in order. At least don't get stuff in home, because once it's home, then resisting is very, very difficult. Stress comes, and the first thing you know is that, hey, let me reach out for that bag of chips or this thing. So, pantry audit, or audit yourself for the pantry, get it clean and be gentle with yourself. Don't be like, tomorrow I'll get rid of everything. Instead, be like, okay, I understood that these are the few things. I'll probably put a red label on them, and then get rid of them slowly, or maybe not get more of it. And when you do this exercise, involve kids, involve family members, instead of you being like one higher authority telling everybody, this is something that I've seen doesn't work at all. When you are restrictive to your family members, then the first thing you know is that you have created rebels. Now I'll eat more ice cream. You're asking me not to, now I will. So being gentle, getting pantry audit, making it as a fun exercise without being too judgy about it, um, that's one for clean eating. The second one is, as much as possible, meal prepping, which I think is obvious. All of us know that meal prepping helps, and not being too rigid about, I'll have fresh food, I'll have fresh, everything fresh, fresh, fresh. What happens is you cannot cook and then you order in. Instead of doing that, it's okay to, excuse me, it's okay to freeze pastes or curries or I don't know what, but freeze it. The next one I would do is eat as much as, like, get accustomed to eating fruits and vegetables in preference for priority than fruits, but get into the habit of um, carrots and cucumbers and bananas and berries on your work desk everywhere. And for me, if I cannot ask my son to eat good food at home, excuse me, I do that when I'm picking him from school. So in the car, I get a excuse me, no, a box of oranges or cut papaya or something for a drive back home. So instead of make these things so handy and easy that your throat is inflamed, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah,
take it.
कुछ neurotoxin तो नहीं खा लेना, I don't know. So yeah, making it easy, involving every family member, not being too judgmental about it.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one amongst everything,
Hmm.
is to not be a strict teacher with yourself and your family members. More often than not, it goes on the opposite direction.
Opposite
Then
the intent. Yeah.
you eat more than. So be aware, get neurotoxins. Or I have a few slides if you want, I can show you the neurotoxins, but that's for later. But
Yeah.
be aware, be kind on yourself. Involve as many people as possible in the family. Um, don't be too rigid about anything. Be aware and don't be rigid. is a recipe for, I think, both. But for everyone, it's different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I read a meal prep tip somewhere, right? And uh, which was for the whole month plan just once, repeat it for next month and then next month. So that's variety enough if you have 30 different ideas. And in my house, for
Yeah.
example, if they want whatever they eat before that, there is a salad or soup because your body is ready to digest and you're hungry. And we always do. And for that, you're absolutely right. Like having it cut in boxes, it's grab and go style. It's all there. If I don't do it, which I do miss many weekends, it's a high impact activity, right? It's about if we don't want to get overwhelmed by the things to do to stay healthy, then do the key essential thing, which meal prepping and cutting is
Yeah.
right is the most important one. That's very interesting. It's also Sakshi, I do notice with kids, I have school going kids. They go to the peer network, right? I don't buy Doritos or Takis at home, but they sometimes bring it from school and they exchange homework for Takis. This gets a little Takis is a chips, by the way. It's one of the processed chips, and it's very hard to grab it and not let them in. And education, knowledge is another way of influencing them, right?
Yeah, you very well said. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So for the boy, it's like if he wants to play well, he wants to be in sports, then this will reduce his energy and his strength. And for my girl, it's like you want to look healthy and bright, and you want to eat healthy.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
It's and by age it changes, right? With the little ones, you have to communicate differently. No, this is awesome. I had a lot of questions. Maybe we can look at your presentation, and while you open it, I
Yeah.
was going to ask.
Please go ahead. Yeah.
About oils, right? One thing I've been very curious. Again, too many options in everything. If you take oil, there are 10 types of oil. So, canola oil, for example, the cheap and the not so healthy ones are the ones right around you, right? Easily accessible. So what do you use for oil? Because you have young kids at home.
Yeah, I have three, which is um, ghee for like dals, etc. Roti,
Clarified butter. Yeah.
clarified butter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I use olive oil for salads,
Mm-hmm.
and avocado oil for shallow frying. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the three I use. Back home we use mustard oil. Back home we used mustard oil, but there are conflicting studies that I'm reading about mustard oil, not about the smoke point, but I have to still get into the depth of it.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, I think these are the three ones I use: avocado, olive, and ghee, a mix of all.
Mm-hmm.
And we could address it now, and we can skip it for the slides because you asked. Is
Mm-hmm.
that our brain has neurons, right? Brain
Mm-hmm.
has certain cells which are called neurons,
Mm-hmm.
and neurons are talking to each other, and that's how we think. And that neuron, imagine of it as a cell, which is like for example, this has a structure. And if I have a very stiff cell, then it'll not be able to absorb nutrients because it needs to bend and get the nutrients in, etc. And if it's too, what do you call, I'm not getting a name, but it is too squishy,
Mm-hmm.
it'll collapse. So what is saturated fat or ghee or coconut butter does is give it structure, give it shape, this thing. And what does unsaturated fat, for example, avocado, olive, does is give it the flexibility, which is why traditionally also in our families there is a mix of saturated and unsaturated fats which were used. That's why we usually recommend, and this is what I got. Like always remember, mix of two. Uh, um, Liquid oils, which are unsaturated, solid oils, which are saturated. And I remember it like solid oils gives solidity to my cells or
It's easy
neurons.
to remember.
And liquid oils give you the flexibility, or how do you get the nutrients inside the cell. So a mix of two every single day, if you are eating, not fasting, would be recommended. And getting the mix of saturated and unsaturated fat is something that, if you are not
Right.
vegan, not vegan for sure.
Yeah. So, there is as you age, your what happens to brain as you age, and how can you reverse aging, or what is brain food that could keep you young?
Yeah, very good question. So, I think for that, I should actually show you a certain graphic that I have. And we'll
Okay.
get back to the question.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I had one more question that pop up
Go
before
for
you
it.
show. Then is what foods do you recommend will bring down the energy? Because I was feeling fatigue earlier this week, and I was root causing as usual. Again, my engineering brain, I'll be like, it could be thyroid conditions. Those are. And then I took care of that. So as soon as you comb it and find different root cause, you can't start fixing it. But what foods can really fatigue you, or in general?
That's a good question. Let's address this one first, if you are okay, and then we'll go for
Sure.
the.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So there could be many factors. Of course, there could be an underlying disease, which doctors, or you must speak with your doctor. There's vitamins, um, B's, vitamin B is okay, D is okay, your omega levels are okay. All those things, of course, for the doctor to do. But in general, I think what I remember always is that your brain is a hyper metabolizer. Most work, it is very little weight compared to your whole body. 2 to 3% is what brain weighs, but 25% of your calories which you eat is consumed by the brain. So the most energy is used by the brain, and it's a hyper metabolizer. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा work it's doing. Um, what does it mean? It means that it needs a lot of energy, and the easiest form of energy is carbs. One thing that I have seen, at least in my experience, and I'm not against keto, is not everyone is suited for low carb or extremely low carb diet. Uh, so a steady supply of glucose or a steady supply of carbs, not simple but complex carbs, which come with protein and fat and wholesome meals, steadily through the day, help you stay mentally well. Now, in this urge of, I'm not sure if losing weight is a thing, but sometimes we are thinking, we have this bad thing about carbs, that carbs are bad, etc. So we're not keeping a track of steady supply of carbs. And that could be one thing as far as brain, because the answer is concerned with the brain today. But that is what I would think. But they could be also salts. For example, you might be low on potassium, which means the muscle might be weaker. I welcome. Uh,
Mhm.
so to answer your question, as far as fatigue is concerned, I would rule out first your blood work. In general, pills or doctor first. Get your blood work in place. I would do that. And the second one is um, make sure that you have a steady supply of energy coming in via carbs. And if you're not doing carbs, then make sure that your doctor has checked you for ketosis, you're good for keto, and then I would do. I'm not sure whether you are following keto or not right now, but that's what I would do. So one of the fatigues, as simple thing is brain is not getting energy, which is why you're fatigued. Yeah. Or maybe water. How does it get energy? So either energy is not there or the energy is not being transported. For the
Mm.
energy to be transported, you need more water. So water or carbs is what I would think the brain is craving.
So then complex carbs and fiber
Carbs. Yeah.
throughout the day is a, yeah. I recently came across millet snacks, and you even so if you want to snack, of course the food you eat is there, but
Yeah.
there are high fiber snacks or complex carb snacks, and it's okay to take. Okay.
Yeah. Also, because if you are, I think if your questions are getting to all the core of what I wanted to discuss. So thank you for asking these questions. Because we are on complex carb, if I'm having simple carbs, or you can also give your brain energy by drinking just sugar water. Just mix sugar in water, take it, and your brain would be happy because you gave lots of energy instantly. The problem with that is it spikes, your sugar level spikes, and then it falls. And lots of these sugar spikes can actually deposit in the blood vessels in the form of plaque. So sugar combines with protein to form something called advanced glycation end products, which is plaque. So you imagine your blood vessel, and there is plaque being formed, which is also atherosclerosis or heart or stroke, etc. All that. So because of that, your brain might not be even getting enough nutrients because the blood vessels going to the brain are clogged because of this sugar spikes multiple times during the day, which is why your point of complex carbs or adding more fat to your meals is just beautiful for the brain because it'll give you steady supply of energy, which is what brain craves instead of these sudden um, sugar spikes.
That's interesting. It's like, well, I can't, it's reasoning out, right? Okay, sugar. So take sugar water, right? Juice or Coke or
Yeah.
coffee stimulants. So what are your favorite complex carbs? I mean, I do millets and that's fine, but fruits wise, what do you do?
Yeah, I usually, for me, it's just the regular food that my mom used to cook. Now, instead of getting the ghee out, the ghee is in. So, millets, of course, I like millet ka dosa, I make a lot.
Mhm.
And I put paneer in it and uh,
The
wrap it.
fat part. Oh, this is a fat part to keep you fuller longer and okay.
Protein also, because protein also keeps you full and saturated fat also keeps you full. For me, the very this thing which has become a recent addition is avocados, which I hated initially, but all of us, I think most of us like it. I did not like it initially, but now I like it because it keeps you fuller. B, again, it's unsaturated, best source of monounsaturated fat. Um, so yeah, avocados are whatever I make. The guacamole goes on top of it, and jowar puffs, which is millet puffs. Recently started eating, but I just don't trust the ingredients because it just says one ingredient, but I haven't seen them make it myself. So I'm not sure if it is true, but yeah, if it is, then I like the puffs. Millet puffs, which are very like recently I've started seeing them a lot in the stores.
And you're open to all fruits and veggies, and most are okay to eat, right?
Yeah. Unless there are some people who have IBS, gut issues, then yeah, sensitive to that. But yeah, for me, I think most of them.
Cool. Uh, there was some comments and questions. Thank you, everyone. There was back on the oil question. We're going back about peanut oil that we used way back in India. Do you think it is good?
Yeah, peanut oil has no issues. I think there is for peanut oil. I think let me go back to the omegas first, and then we can come to the oils. Um, So, uh, brain, like any other body part, is prone to inflammation, which means your immune system is attacking your brain. In this case, it's called neuroinflammation, which means immune system is attacking the neurons or the brain cells. In order to keep it in check, what you need is you need a balance of omega-3 and omega-6. These are both fatty acids, both unsaturated fats. Omega-3s are present in salmon, this fish, and then flax seeds, walnuts. Omega-6 is also very important. It increases inflammation in the body. Now imagine if someone has no inflammation also is not good because you want to fight infection. Now what your body needs is a balance. And, and instead of answering your question whether peanut oil is good or not, I would give you a tool to see if an oil is good or not, because every day there's new oil, which is the best oil supposedly. So how do you see if an oil is good or not? The first thing to see is, let's break it down into a flowchart kind of a thing. I have an oil. Let's start with ghee. I have ghee. Is it good or not? Let's start with that. The first thing is find out whether it's saturated or unsaturated. And we all know that saturated fat, good indicator, it's solid at room temperature. So very easy to see, yeah, it's saturated. Trans fat is bad, by the way. Trans fat is hydrogenated oil made in man-made. Those are bad, like dalda, etc. Those are bad. So we're not talking about that. But say, for example, peanut oil, etc. If we are those category, so if it is a saturated fat, go for guidelines for American Heart Association. Usually those are the ones who check if the blood vessels, how do blood vessels respond to a certain oil? Is the plaque being formed or not? So say, for example, now I have saturated fat. I go to American Heart Association and see how much do they recommend per day. So for ghee, it's 3 teaspoons, for example. So now I'm clear that I can eat 3 teaspoons, give or take, right? These guidelines are not rigid. So I understood that I can eat it, but there is a bound to it. Understood, and then I keep it aside. Now the second question is, okay, now I have, say, peanut oil. Is it saturated or it's unsaturated? I understood, yeah, it's unsaturated, yeah, it's liquid at room temperature. Okay, within unsaturated oil, is it poly or mono? Polyunsaturated means it has multiple carbon-hydrogen bonds, which are double bonds, but that's science. But monounsaturated has one double bond. So I think most of us understand that this CH double bond or one means monounsaturated, multiple is polyunsaturated. Say any oil, which is any oil has a mix of two, mono, a little bit of mono, a little bit of poly. But if it has more poly, you call it a polyunsaturated oil. Say, for example, peanut oil is polyunsaturated. Then you say, okay, now what is the ratio of omega-6 to omega-3? If the ratio seems to you in a balance, like a 4:1 or a 1:4 or a 6:1, it seems like a reasonable ratio, then go for it, eat it or consume it. But if the ratio is abnormal, maybe 100:1, maybe a 200:1, for example, I think sunflower or safflower oil, one of them has 130:1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. That should set red flags in your mind that there has to be something wrong. And why is it wrong? Now, once we understand the why, we can get the flowchart complete. Too much omega-6 means too much inflammation. Too much inflammation means too many chronic ailments coming your way. So nothing wrong. Just consume them in extreme moderation, very occasionally. For peanut oil, I think I could be wrong here. The ratio is less than 30 for sure. It's not more than that. But it is not as high as safflower or all those oils. So I won't say that it's wrong to or bad to consume, but I would not like use peanut oil like crazy. But I don't think it'll be cancerous or all those things. But yeah, it will be high in inflammation. So any oil, take it through this algorithm. Step 1, is it saturated or unsaturated? If it's saturated, 3 teaspoons out. If it's unsaturated, is it poly or mono? If it's mono, yes, I can consume like olive oil. Again, it's 2 teaspoons, I think, 2 teaspoons per meal. So I think 6 teaspoons is allowed. So give or take, right? And then the last one is omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. If omega-6 is huge, then drop the oil. And if it's not huge, then go for it.
Nice. Yeah, this is a nice hook to remember. Yeah, if you just tell, right, do eat this oil and this much, I don't like, and then now a bit of thought
Empowered, right? You're
Yeah.
empowered.
Very cool. You were going to answer about the aging part, right?
Yeah. So I think for aging, what all can go wrong with the brain? Once we look at the picture, I think then I can just take off the picture and then we can, a host has disabled participant screen sharing.
I'm going to do that right now. All right, Sakshi, make host. Yeah, go for it.
Okie dokie. Okay. Yeah. So your brain, of course, I'm sure you've seen this is how a brain looks. This is cerebrum. Cerebellum is the back part of your brain, which is the balance. So if I make you walk like this, you'll not be able to walk very well because your cerebellum is pressed. And then this is the brain stem, which talks to the whole body. To answer your question, we need to look at what happens within the brain. These are the neurons, which you see on the right side, if I play the video up. And these are the synapses. And I'll talk through what all is going wrong when you age. Synapses, so within the brain, there are neurons. Neurons are the cell. of the brain. These blobs that you see are the neurons, and they are sending signals to each other, and that's how we're thinking. Within two neurons, they're not connected. They're talking, they have a little gap, and then what is happening between them is a synapse. So every time you think or a signal is sent, even if you don't think passively, you are always making connections. So that's what the neurotransmitters are. Now, to answer your question, what all is happening with age? The first one is, which is very basic, is the neurons lose connections, which means these neurotransmitters start to fade away. Less and less neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are made of amino acids, which means that we need to keep eating protein as we age. Protein is made of amino acids. So with age, you need to still keep eating proteins. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, which you would have heard of. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, which you've heard of. So if we make sure that our happy hormones are well in place, the neurotransmitters are well in place. So that's one. With age, they're going down. So make sure to keep eating protein with age. Second one is, think of them as electrical signals. And there is an insulation on this wire. So two neurons, between them, there's this wire that you can see. This insulation is called myelin sheath. And that is again made of 70% fat. With time, the myelin sheath starts breaking. Literally, you can see the myelin sheath breaking. Why? Because brain is, as we said, working a lot, and there's lots of exhaust being generated, which are called free radicals. Free radicals is the word that most of us might have heard. And those free radicals love fat, which means that they come attack myelin sheath. And like what we say, oils go rancid, myelin sheath can break. So with age, myelin sheath can break. With age, synapse can become weaker, or neurotransmitters might become weaker. With age, there is one more thing happening, which is really bad. And that is your capacity to eat neurotoxins go down. Why is it so? Because there is a blood-brain barrier between brain and the blood vessels. There is like a single layer cell, and that is called the blood-brain barrier. Its job is to act as a filter and not let brain get any garbage that we eat. For example, high fructose corn syrup, MSG, sodium benzoate, all those preservatives which we think are bad. Blood-brain barrier's job it is to stop them, to go from brain, to go to the brain. And with age, blood-brain barrier weakens. And can you guess which part of the brain is more susceptible to this? It is the memory center hippocampus. And which is why Alzheimer's, dementia, first thing, they can still walk, right? People can still walk, but the first thing that takes a hit is memory, because blood-brain barrier is the weakest at the hippocampus area. And also the pineal gland, which is which takes care of sleep, which is why when you see the elderly, their memory and sleep is the first to get hit, because the blood-brain barrier is almost negligible. And then neurotoxins go there. If you are stressed, then the neurons get hit. Those are the most vulnerable places, hippocampus and pineal gland, both of them. So to summarize, Srividya, with age, neurons, the signals can get weaker. The myelin sheath, or the insulation which protects the signals to go from one neuron to other, can get eaten up if you keep eating if you have a lot of free radicals. So what do you do to protect it? First, as we discussed, protein intake has to be high. The second one is make sure you eat lots of antioxidants. Antioxidants, see, I'm like, pura brain ka plate I have here. So lots of berries, keep it on the work desk. I usually recommend people that if you're feeling even low or sad, first consume berries and then talk to me, because they will take care of the free radicals roaming around in the brain, hurting you. So neutralize them using antioxidants. So would do that. Omega-3 reduces inflammation in the mind or in the brain, and make sure you don't eat a lot of omega-6s. Those combined with omega-3, omega-6, good amount of both fats, so that myelin sheath is protected. the insulation is intact, is what I would do to protect aging.
And to also engage in some walk or see nature.
Yeah, if we go step out of food, yes, neuroplasticity, Sudoku, walks, nothing like it. Brain growth factor is promoted when you go exercise, walks, engage in healthy relationships. Yeah, and some
Healthy relationship. Thanks for mentioning that. Right, often misunderstood because COVID, we saw the increase in people getting more alone unless intentionally they met, and then when we are back at work, it's been insane. I don't know, overall global trend, people are just super duper busy, and to intentionally take out time to connect. And I'm blessed with friends who make it a point to connect. They'll nudge me to get out. So that is so important, especially when you age. Again, even a bigger factor once you age, right?
So well said. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Uh, how can I was going to ask how can people reach out to you? I think we have published the recording on the website on the group. They will continue asking questions. So that was going to be the last question, and the penultimate question is, what message would you leave with? Kind of conclude, because again, there is dearth of YouTube videos and Google best practices, and it's that one thing about behavior which which is the hardest part to change. And so we address a lot of it as stress. So what is the one main thing you would leave the audience with?
Yeah, I think I would borrow it from a client of mine who said a therapist's office should be on a mountain, which means that I need to if I walk to the therapist's office, then I would primarily take care of my worries by the time I reach. And the message there is, when you walk or you do some form of exercise or you eat well, your thoughts can be sorted to a large extent. So when we think that speaking it to having like a overthinking about a problem will solve it, I would say give a little less weightage to yourself about figuring things out. Give a little more weightage to your body, which means eat well and walk, exercise, so that your thoughts are influenced in a good way. So please remember that your thoughts are not somewhere in a storage. They are in your body. They're part of your body. So if you eat well, if you exercise, if you eat well, your brain, your thoughts will also be by your side. Your mental health is not independent of what you eat. Your mental health is not independent of exercising. We usually think that mental health and physical health are like two separate buckets, but they are strongly correlated. If I am feeling low, if I'm feeling really low, I defer overthinking. First, go consume my spinach soup, then go for a walk. After a while, eat my berries, do a little bit of exercise, combine them, and then come back to thinking all the negative thoughts which were coming to my mind. So your brain is not separate from your body. Yeah. Eat good food, exercise, and then your thoughts will follow your
Lovely.
body.
Yeah, I don't want to forget this, because there is a thought dump I do, but you said much more weightage in the eating and the walking and probably even connecting with friend relationship. And then the remaining part, you can solve it. Now you're in a better state, primed to solve the problem, right? And when we are anxious, we solve a problem different. We don't solve the problem, right? Everything, we are stressed. But then this would release and relax, and then you go and address. So wonderful message. Thank you, Sakshi. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can people reach you? They just message you if they are interested in what do you do, right? It'll be good
Yeah, they
summary.
can reach out to me. We have a group program beginning very soon, in May 20th, end of May-ish frame. And we've tracked habits, we form habits, and we track them. We recently put numbers to habits so that we can see where we are, affirm ourselves. And despite the knowledge, we bring behavior change, without prescription. So that's what we do. But to reach out to me, you can go to my website, reach on LinkedIn. I can leave when you post it. I'll leave a link in the description. But yeah, very easy to reach LinkedIn.
No, what I loved when we talked, and I was like, wow, no, I'm not sure like how many people do this, which is health coaches particularly. You work with couples and you work, and there is a gender diversity, and it's equally a problem for the other parent too, right?
Yeah. Recently, yeah, as I said, recently started working with men too. Earlier, I didn't believe that men have these things, but now it's like, okay, I was so wrong.
More so, and I don't want to stereotype, but to communicate and what problems they have is even less a priority. At least this gender takes care, right? Is talking to friends, is able to express uh,
Oh, yeah,
the
very well said.
men, right? So that was great to know, and super pumped and excited about this call, and I think we should do it again, and lots of insights that myself and I'm sure the community gathers from you.
Your questions were so powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, audience.